time, right? Right. So good afternoon again. I would be looking at 4.1 here today as well as 4.2. Well, the tail end of 4.1 because we actually did introduce KPIs last week already. We looked at active and reactive indicators last week, right? So when I finish up that, if there's any time remaining, we will probably spend it talking about the exam a bit, right? So to facilitate meeting towards the following team's definition of the term audit, different reference point there, ISO 45001 2018 definition, why health and safety management system should be audited, difference between audits and inspection, advantages and disadvantages of external and internal audits, the audit stages, notification of the audit, and timetabling for audits. This would have been last week, types of active and reactive monitoring. That was a question last week. Anybody want to try to have a go at it? Why measure health and safety performance? Why does the company have to create that sheet? We did it last week, the KPI sheet. Why do they have to record, like what's a good reason for doing it then? Like why do you have to record the number of accidents, number of, even the positive things, number of inspections? What was the purpose in getting the actual data then, the month by month data? What could they have done with it? Anyone? That's actually one of the slides. The answer for that is actually one of the slides. But I think if you had the class, you should be able to remember the purpose in capturing the data then. Like what do they do with it then on a quarterly basis?
I don't answer well, so it was accountability with something.
Yeah. So
Just
I
to
mean,
check your
yeah, it's
yeah something.
accountability. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone want to help out Devon a bit?
To check the performance and see that if they're actually making progress with the health and safety
Yeah.
policy.
So yeah, to see if they're meeting their target. So if you say you want 10 inspections a month, which I think we did, or trading hours, as if you're actually meeting your targets then, right? So good. However, that was more reality. Remember, I told you that was more like a reality thing. The NIBOSH question, we looked at it at the end, is more like what are the proactive indicators? And it really asks for more than 10, like inspections and things, it asks for more than that. So I think how I wrote it on the slide, I said, I wrote it on the side of the slide is that the proactive is actually all the good things, right? So you mightn't find, because the book only had 3, right? But then how do you get 10? If they ask you for what is 10 indicators, it's going to be more or less what you see positive in the case study there. So if they say the manager does meet with the workers, there is a first aider, there is a risk assessment. So those are not really known KPIs, but that's what you're going to have to give them because, of course, if they say the accident rate is low, fine, that would be positive as well, right? All right. So we want to take off on auditing. We had done some of this last week too. So just to take off on auditing today. So auditing, ISO 45001 audit refers to a structured an objective examination of an organization occupational health and safety management system standard to evaluate its conformance with the standard requirements, meaning what you intended it to do. The primary purpose of audits is to assess the effectiveness and efficiency of your occupational health and safety management system, identify non-conformances, which we call NCs, and provide recommendation for improvement. I would explain at the end, right? Is this guy in this class just now? Shivan Suklal. Somebody, I think he finished. I don't think he in our class. Oh, that's another Shivan then. My mistake. Yeah. So I guess somebody said it. I know that was Shivan. What is Shivan? That's our Shivan. Okay, that's Shivan Suklal. That was Shivan Sukhdev. That's the one that finished, right? All right. My mistake. The purpose of auditing to objectively reveal and understand the strengths and weaknesses of an organization management system, to help an organization improve the way it manages health and safety. It's good public relation for your stakeholders. It helps you to benchmark, right? So audit preparation, reading, right? Meet with relevant managers and employees to discuss and agree the date and times of the audit, what will be audited and how the auditors will be involved. Plan what procedures, process, and documents you want to observe. Plan what evidence you want to see to help judge compliance. Now, these points are very clear though, but I'll have to come back and re-emphasize them, right? And on audit, you need a methodology to gather your data, which is like a spreadsheet or a software to collect the data, to analyze the data, to represent the data so that the information and knowledge can be gained from the data, right? The methods of collecting data can be qualitative, yes or no, or quantitative, like numbers. Most of the better ones are numbers. Auditors need to be competent to make the right judgment. For in-house auditing, the auditor should audit an area they are not directly involved with to achieve objectivity. Notification, you need a system that relays non-conformances, and an NC is where you didn't meet a requirement. So those are the tasks to improve. Part of notification should involve suggesting a remedy. Notification records can be assessed as part of judging whether an organization is improving performance or not. Doing an audit, you need good listening skills. Always question how the system is performing rather than the person during the audit interviews. Ask for the interviewee's opinion. Try to have a good rapport with them. Conclude on a positive note. The advantage of internal audits is that employees can get a sense of ownership. Organization could learn about itself. The team would know its business and its workforce. The disadvantage is that it can be subjective as you're using your own staff members, right? It could be subjected to company politics, and those workers may not have time to do a good job. If you want to know why, because it's your own staff. They have their own work to do, right? You don't get extra pay for doing an audit if it's an internal audit, right? You just probably will get pizza. Yeah, you probably get pizza, right? But those internal staff members then, right? Remember, they have their work to do. Audits may take a half day. If you're a technician, an accountant, safety, right? You have your work to do. The half day doing that audit, you still have to do your own work, right? And the most you're working here for is pizza. So, most people who do internal audits, the staff themselves don't know what they're doing. And this is, I'm telling you from experience, even if you train them, the training too does be half day, and half day is not enough to make somebody competent. But it's something. It's better than nothing, right? But half of the times, they don't know what they're doing. Half of the times, the workers who do an internal audit don't even want to be doing an internal audit. They just have was chosen at the company. Folks, I know you're laughing, right? The the company that do internal audits, what they're trying to do is save money. Instead of hiring an external person that was like that, why they using their own staff, which probably would be overworked staff anyway, right? So they don't want to do it. They're not really interested in doing it. One maybe, but then you're not going to get extra pay if they give you a stipend. Good, but most companies don't. It's probably pizza that you're working for here, right? The external audits are normally done by external consultants and bodies. The person is more objective. They can say what they want to tell you. They have nothing to fear. It could be a specialist, and most of them are specialists, and they set a higher benchmark because they could benchmark your company against how it should be in the industry, not how it should be in your company, right? The disadvantage is that they will be unfamiliar with your organization. Normally, that is not a sticking point because all companies, if it's safety audits, is around the same thing, right? But it could get communication barriers with the workforce as nobody wants to talk to you, right? Especially if something has been investigated, like an accident. That's why you're kind of going down on to get an NC then, right? You may get communication barriers where that is concerned, right? That's an old question there. That's before the time of the pandemic, right? But it was an audit question this year, a big one too. Could have been maybe February or March, right? A big audit question. It wasn't hard. I mean, folks, remember your answers is in the case study. Literally, they asked you what was positive about the audit, and then what was negative about the audit, which all the answers were in the case study, right? Anyway, just a little bit of backdrop here because it's not true. Because I said I've given I just did that in 10 minutes apparently, right? So just a bit of a backdrop. If you can slow down with it a bit, this is just for you now, right? Maybe to understand the process a bit better. So you can write this if you want to. Write how much things you want to pick up because we have 20 minutes remaining. And then I'll do the other one, which will hopefully finish by 3:30, right? Nah, we have 50 minutes remaining, right? All right. So just for your interest, right? An audit is like an exam, but you are the examiner. So if just think of it like that, an audit is like an exam, right? So if you're going to give students an exam, you have to tell them before. So this is why you have to plan the date and time before, right? Some companies give 6 weeks. Some companies, like the ministry here, takes very long. 9 months, 10 months, 12 months. That's a year. One of my audits I did with ACTT, look the certificate up there. I took a year to get the certificate, a calendar year. Shadrach Safety, if you all know, is registered with the Accreditation Council. If you pull up the list gets short. Do you all know that? The list is 1 page now. The list of registered institutions is just 1 page now. Pull it up for yourself and see. Somebody can pull it and share it in the group chat. You'll see Shadrach in it. It's 1 page, right? You have SBCS, you have CTS College, Shadrach Safety Institute. There's only 1 page right now, right? Some people not even bothered. I'm not too sure. Some people not bothered with registration and stuff anymore, especially if you have a foreign-based school now. Most people just operating from a foreign perspective anyway. I still bother with it. I still fight up with it. But a year, right? One calendar year. Anyway. Plan that's not what I had in mind. When I say date and time, it shouldn't be a year. That's a whole year. No, it's about 6 weeks, right? Okay, so if you so what I'm gonna talk to you, I'm gonna talk to you as if you are planning an audit then, right? So if you are planning an audit, you call a company and you tell them that you are coming in 6 weeks' time, right? So you want to take a note, you can just make a summary. 6 weeks is a good time frame, right? You plan what will be audited. Now you might want to see everything. Let's just say you want to see the RAs. I'll just give you a couple here. You want to see the RA, you want to see the accident report, right? You want to see the fire drills. You want to see what again could you see? You want to see maybe the KPI sheet from last week. You want to see the company's KPI sheet. So you plan what you want to see that, right? You also plan who should be there for the meeting, the company HSE, maybe a director, and you need one person to talk to in the day. So that person, so if you want your heading here, the heading is preparation, right? Why must I tell them? Because you don't want to go and you have nobody to talk to, the person have a day off, right? So how auditors will be involved? So you plan who you want to see, the CEO. Maybe there's an open meeting and a closed meeting. You want to, just have them for both of those meetings there. Plan what procedures, processes, and documents would be observed. So just put the same thing back there, right? But you could probably say the HSE policy, you want to look at maybe the training policy. You could take some of these down. This is for you, Mama. This is for you to understand it now. This is beyond the exam now. This is building your competence now, right? So HSE policy, training records, so you plan, you have to give them a list. I have one in my desk here, but I can't show you the heading of the company, yeah? Thirty-four things. The waste management plan. You plan what you want to see. This is, noise survey, emergency, power provision, RPE policy. You plan what you want to see. But you just give them that 6 weeks before. Because you don't want to go there and there's nothing now. There's an audit, right? So you understand that? Okay, anybody could just come in here but tell me what you think about that process itself. What do you think about the preparation process? I said that you have to call the company. You're calling up the company and saying that you're coming to do an audit 6 weeks before. This is what I want to see. You give them a list like what I showed you there, and then you say who you want to see. Frank, the CEO, and maybe one technician. What do you all think about that?
Sound like a plan?
It sounds like a plan, okay. But do you see it advantages or disadvantages? Because you tell them you come in.
I see it
see
as
it.
advantageous because it's not wasting anyone's time. You know exactly what is you come to audit. You make sure you have audit documentation ready and present in order so that you don't
Yeah.
have to be casting around looking for anything.
Yeah. Folks, if you don't do that, right, you are getting nothing on the day of the audit. If you don't tell them you're coming to see the RAs for the last 3 months, I have, I mean, I've been auditing and doing audit for more than a decade, right? We have had spot audits. A spot audit is not nice, right? I don't like them at all, at all, at all, right? A spot audit is, you have all the documents, and you have the RAs, right? But, it's where to find them, right? A spot audit is that you have all of these things, but is where to find them. And why I don't like spot audits for is because the principle behind it is that they come to catch you. It's like, remember what you say an audit is. I'm gonna go back here. An audit shouldn't be like that. The purpose of an audit, right? I'm gonna try to get back this slide for you. The purpose of an audit is to find strengths and weaknesses. But if you come at a spot audit, right? Strengths and weaknesses. If you come as a spot audit, then you come with that negative mindset that you come to catch the company, right? So, like at the end of it, you say you catch the company, but were you really there for improvements or were you just there to catch the company, right? Anyway, the real audits are done like these, right? The way it's planned before. And let's talk about the planning phase a little bit more, right? I'm gonna go into this. Other than the date, the time, who you want to meet and thing, right? Remember what I told you all, right? What just one up here. I wouldn't go too far in it, huh? Remember there are whole audits and courses, but I wanted to understand a little bit of it now. I wouldn't go more than three in it then, right? So here the thing, there's three different things, right? So one of the things you have to plan when you go to do a audit is the questions. You have to plan what you're going to ask. You can't be guessing. You can't reach in front of the company and watch it through the documents now and trying to figure out what to ask. You had to plan the questions before. Remember telling auditors like a test. Like a teacher going to test a class wouldn't come in front of the class and, I mean, unless you're good, just call out some questions on the top of your head, right? But you should plan the questions then, right? So if we're talking about safety, can I give you one question or two I could give you? So one of the first questions in safety is, where is your HSE policy? Do you have an HSE policy? That's one of the first questions they ask, right? That literally is the first question they ask in all safety audits, right? Another one, probably here, if we're talking about risk assessment, is the 5x5 matrix. They're looking at it to see if you use the 5x5 matrix. In Trinidad, and in Guyana, not in Nibosh. This is Trinidad I'm talking about. I have some risk assessment, but I'm not going to show it over the thing here, right? Because if I'd taken a picture of it, maybe then, because I know they had it with it, right? Anyway, they're checking for that, right? So here the thing. So the next thing, as the auditor or as the teacher, when you plan the questions, guess what you have to plan with that too? I don't know if you understand this. You're going to have to plan the answer. Yeah, you have to plan the answer. Let me explain that to you. In other words, when you ask, do you have an HSE policy statement? You already have to know the answer to that. You have to research that company and know they have it or they don't have it. You already know the answer that you're looking for. You are looking for, yes, they have a HSE policy because you'd have seen it in one of their documents, right? And so you understand, you plan the question and the answer. Let's talk about this one. Do you do risk assessments? Yes. What matrix do you use? Now, you already know they're using the wrong matrix, but you're still asking them. Yeah, again, I'll keep telling you, planning an audit is like planning a test. When you go to test somebody, you have the question and you have the answer, right? So if the person give the wrong answer, you know, but you're not going to show them you know it wrong. If it's a teacher, you're just going to say, fine, that's a good answer, right? But you know, right, when they say they have a risk assessment and they use the wrong matrix, you know that's like the standard for the audit then is a 5x5 matrix, right? So you already know the answer for this one. The other thing you have to plan, what this one here, is the score. What score am I talking about? Well, like a test, you have to pass. Unlike an audit, you have to pass. How do you know that you pass? Well, you know that you pass because every question carries a mark and you have to get a certain percentage then. So you set the score. Just like a teacher will say, okay, the pass mark is 50. Another teacher will say the pass mark is 60. Somebody may say the pass mark is 70. Right? You set the score. So that's what you tell them in the meeting. When you meet with the relevant managers, you tell them to be successful, you'll have to get over 50% in this audit to pass. That's what you do in the open and the closed meeting. Now, why this is important for is because of, well, not really because of that one question that came, but I don't think it'll come back in the same year. The test auditing like that, but that's what they did in that past paper. Right? They discuss how the person planned, the questions asked, right? So the more you know of preparation, then the better would have been that. But you see, as an adult, you have sense too now. So like when you read the thing, it sounds positive. When you say the method relevant managers, right? Well, then you know what that's positive. They say the auditors plan 6 weeks before. It's like literally you don't have to really guess that too much. You know it's positive, right? So that's the thing about your case study. The positive things are always on it, kind of blaring at you anyway, right? One more here. Let me see what I could throw in here to be of benefit. So you plan the question, you plan the score. That's two good ones, to be honest with you. I think enough something that's not normal and not like these are not too normal in your in the notes now in your textbook. Displaying data thing is easy, right? You could probably tell them how much NCs they could get wrong and still pass, right? Most of the times the standard is 3. If you get more than 3 NCs, they say you fail the audit. But I guess you could set that yourself. An NC is a non-conformance. An NC is like you ask for something and they don't have it. Right? I try not to call too much a company names, but these things are real now. I wouldn't call it company name, huh? Big power company did some risk assessment and they used the wrong matrix. They went up to 10. If I didn't share this with you already, right? They failed the audit because of that. Was a OSH audit too, so it's not as easy as a normal audit. They failed the audit and they got a fine, right? But I suppose that well, that wasn't the only thing, right? It had to be that they crossed three NCs, right?
Well, excuse sir, what make them
Yeah.
go into 10 though?
I think the answer for that is culture, because what has happened now, there are other matrices in the world now. Trenma at one point in time, those of us in Trinidad, that's an oil company. You say that, but they used to go to 10. However, IOSH, which is the kind of owners of Nibosh, founders of Nibosh, as long as I know myself, there's like 15 years in safety now, right? Have tried to standardize the risk matrix now. So in our OSHAC, in the Guyana OSHAC, and everybody in the Caribbean around the world, we kind of go to 5. You understand? 10 could be misleading then, because if somebody says, if you use a 10 by 10 matrix, right, then you say like 25 in your scale means low risk. But then 25, a company may read that and say, well, 25, oh, that's high. But then, and anyway, that is one of the reasons why they got that fine. But I'm not too sure the number of count of NCs then, right? How much NCs they would have gotten, or what was the permissible limit. But most of the times it's 3, right? I don't like these things at all. I mean, I do it. That's the thing with me. Like, I like teaching, but as I'm to tell you, like, I had a time, like, some people mistake things that you do now. Like, some people think like you are what you do. And in a way you are. But it's not all that you do, right? So, like, I don't like audits. Nobody likes audits. I don't like doing them, nor do I like being audited. Um, I just say I don't think anybody likes being audited. That's the thing, right? But it's, I guess, a part of life. We have good ones. Sometimes we have bad ones. We have halfway ones. Most of mine have been good though, right? I've had UK audits that say, and a guy that audited me from Oxford, right? For Nibosh, and it was a good audit, right? This year, though, I didn't get in trouble this year, right? But what happened this year was very challenging this year. Because remember, if I told you all, if I shared with you all, I was on a job in Guyana last year, October, and my computer, the company vehicle I was in got robbed. I wasn't in the vehicle at the time, but they robbed everything from the vehicle. And that computer, for those who know me, was my main computer, like more than a decade of work was in that. So what happened this year? Every year we just have to submit lesson plans to NEBOSH and PowerPoints and stuff now. And, at the point in time when it happened, I understood what it meant, that it would be really tough. So I did inform NEBOSH. That didn't, of course, stop them from auditing me this year. What was worse this year, normally when they do these audits, they drop like a partial audit. And this year they drop an entire audit, like all the documents. And they knew I didn't have it, you know. And it wasn't just a laptop, it was a laptop and the secondary, all the flash drives, all the data storage devices was in that computer bag. I got through though, but how I got through, I had to write over everything. I don't know if you all know that most providers for NEBOSH, they don't write their own materials. I don't know if you all know that. Most people buy them. Yeah, you buy them. You check the other schools in Trinidad, I think there's Ushi's and ETC. They offer one NEBOSH ILO spin-off qualification, but they buy their material. I am a bit different. I write my own from scratch. Like this PowerPoint, I wrote it, right? Probably more than 10 something years ago, right? But it was really tough to teach you all, teach your classes. And then in the night, but I did it, right? I got through with the audit. I think I have 1 or 2 PowerPoints missing still, but I know I have them. It's just to kind of refashion them, right? But that was a bit of a really that was this year of audit and all stuff. Normally I don't get so much of trouble with them, right? Because I have them. When you have them for 10, you have them for your life. You write a PowerPoint, you have it. But then to be, through that event last year. And I'm always thinking how to save them because I did my best. I saved it like in a backup storage. The problem I did is that I carried everything with me and I should have probably stored it on a cloud device, cloud storage. And I think there's a lesson there to learn, to back up stuff and keep it on a cloud storage. Anyway, so maybe even for you when you're doing your project, make sure and store your stuff, make sure and email it to yourself. I have so much, I can't email all these things to myself. It's like huge files and folders, right? Because remember, it's an accredited school that we run. This is one here, but remember this folder here, right? This represents an actual soft copy of a file. Check the size of this. All of this is handwritten in. When I say written and typed, this is a file here for accreditation, right? So that is one. Here at the school, remember, we're a little bit different from UE. UE and COSTAT only have one accreditation, which is ACTT. Here, I have that accreditation, but I also have the NIBOSH accreditation, and the IO. So it's more work than paper-wise, right? But it is what it is, right? This year we kind of got through. We're still not over with it yet because every 3 months is an audit with NIBOSH. Anyway, that's why I say this is a part of it I don't like now. Most people, some people see me and they say, "Oh, I'm gonna start a school," and I say, "Okay, fine," but they don't know what's involved in it. They think this is the school. You think sitting down here and talking for an hour and a half, that's not the school. This is the fun part of it. As I said, this is the part we like. We like teaching, training, right? But you see the auditing, that's a tough part. I guess if you're in safety, you'll soon figure that out. Whenever you hear they say safety audit, you realize nobody likes to be audited, right? All right, folks, this one is finished, right? Let me just go to the other one. So this is more than finished. I sort of kind of took it into reality there a bit as well, right? So the last slide for today, last PowerPoint, I'm going to go into another one. Now, the thing is too, I don't know if you have these slides. So I want somebody to message me and tell me, but after you all have another class, right? So if not tonight, I don't know if you have these PowerPoints because the
No,
week
sir,
has been a
we don't
gone.
have it.
Yeah, I don't feel you have it. I don't feel you,
Because I was actually looking for it, and we don't have it.
yeah, the girl in the office is sick since Tuesday. So normally I would have given her to email you all now. She emailed my diploma students, but she never got around to yours, right? So and then I told her, look, stay home because it's worse if two people get sick anyway, right? So just after you, I have a class, so I will try to email it for you tonight. So what you're supposed to get is 13, 14, and 15, right? So for now, I could follow through with what I have on my slides. To be honest, with this one coming up now, there's actually only one important concept, and all the rest of information in this slide builds around that concept. So when I reach that concept, I would write on this slide here with the marker. Similarly, you could write on your notebook, and if you write that, that was what the learning outcome would have been then. That's what you need to go to do to move forward with the exam, right? The rest of it is just fluff or the building up of that same concept, right? So here we have the topic here. Let me go to the topic. Exactly, incident and accident investigation, recording and reporting, right? So the objective of this session is to facilitate meaning towards the following themes: the process and purpose of investigating incidents. The reviews what we just did, the audit methodology, types of information to gather to review health and safety performance like the RE, the trading records, that would have been that piece of information. So let me just bring this up in the bigger view for you all. So the purpose of investigating incidents, and I think there are many purposes here, but if you want, you could write two down. You don't have to write it over. I'll send you this in a bit, right? The purpose could be a lot, but I think the real true purpose is to find the cause of an accident. Remember, this itself is not a NIBOSH precedent. This is just the introduction now, right? So what's the purpose of doing an accident investigation? It's to find the cause. They have immediate and root causes. I'll build on that as we go along, right? Actually, that is the main point of learning, but this is just the first slide. Another purpose of an accident investigation is to prevent the chance of the accident reoccurring. So I think the two main purposes, which is not an e-brush question, it's too easy. Remember, they do ask you what is, right? The two main purposes to, but just in general now, to find the cause. And when you find the cause, you could prevent it from happening again. And the rest of it, I think, is just information. Like if you do investigate accidents, you'd actually suggest control measures. You would have the workforce learn about their failings. You can show management commitment. You can satisfy the laws they have in the UK, right? But again, unfortunately, there are no what is the purpose of accident investigation questions, right? And if they have, when you get it, you'll just pull it from the slide. But remember, there's no what is questions, right? So in terms of accidents and incidents, you normally, well, we saw this last week, right? The companies normally categorize them, like how many near misses you have, how many property damage, how many serious accidents, how many fatalities, right? So there's a reason for categorizing them because what happens, you can actually focus on the more serious ones, right? So the effort of investigation would vary depending on the complexity and severity of the event. You need an accident investigation procedure, which will say who is responsible for what during the investigation. So as an investigator, you need an accident investigation form. And we could probably just talk about what is on the form because that itself is not a question, right? Like what is on the form would be like the name of the injured person. I don't know if you want to come in and give any, the location of the accident, where it happened. So just lots of information, right? The cause of the accident, who were the
The
witnesses,
weight and
you
the
know,
size.
date and time. So this itself is not a question. Remember the easy things they don't really bring for you all. Plus, they don't really bring what are the headers of an accident investigation form, right? That was before the pandemic when the question was memory based, right? But I guess the point is that you need a methodology. So when you go down in the accident scene, you wouldn't be scratching your head now. You look at the form and you say, okay, what is shred of record? Is the name of the person, the date, the time, the location? Was it first aid? Was it CVA? Was it sent to the hospital? You make a sketch, right? No, it would be nice if they ask these kind of questions, but remember they don't. It seems to be a bit of the old way of testing. Who were the witnesses? You record their name, those kind of things. But the point is you need a methodology so that you don't end up, not knowing what you're doing. And the methodology is the form, right? So here we have the format should involve the assessment of the area where the event took place, assessment of relevant documents associated with the event, risk assessments, trading records, maintenance records, inspection records, interviewing of witnesses. The format should highlight investigation resources required. Do you need, camera, a tape? Of course, you need to be competent, right? Notepad, pen, paper, clipboard, hand gloves, PPE, RPE, because the risk could still be there then. I mean, you shouldn't go to the investigation if there's a gas leak, right? Anyway, I'll move on. Right, so I'm gonna read this, but this is what I'm coming back to, right? There's always more than one reason for an accident. An accident would involve direct or immediate cause or causes, indirect or root causes. Direct or immediate causes to accidents are due to unsafe acts or conditions. Indirect or root causes are attributed to management failures. All right, so from here now, this is not on your syllabus. Let me tell you what I did here. I was just trying to give credit to the guy that said accidents have more than one causes then, right? So you wouldn't do this until you get to the degree level. But I thought it wise, instead of saying accident have more than one causes, to give credit to the people that actually said it, right? So please take a note of that. If you have your book, you wouldn't see this in your book. This is just the story of how they found out accidents have more than one causes, right? So it wasn't one person, by the way, it was a couple of them. You may remember Heinrich. This is the same guy with the theory on the iceberg, right? And he came up with what is called the domino theory, right? You don't have to learn it. It's not a kind of exam. Even if you get to the diploma level, you still don't have to learn it because the diploma is also open book exams, right? So Heinrich, now it wasn't one of them. There were many psychologists and there are many theories, by the way, but they all agree then that accidents have more than one cause. What does that mean? It means don't blame the worker. That's what it means. Don't blame the worker, right? So you had actually another two, this I think is British psychologist, Frank Bird. Yeah, Bird was actually his surname. And the Loftus domino theory, they propose another theory as well. They sort of extended the Heinrich theory, right? You have other theories out there like the multiple causation theory. Therefore, there's always more than one reason why an accident occurred or even might occur. And it have more than what you have. That these two is not even in your syllabus, right? But they even have more than these. It have what is called the reasons model. Reason is actually somebody's last name. Yeah, reason was a man's surname. Reason, Reason, the reasons model. But everybody agrees that it have more than one cause than of an accident, right? We have time, right? We have time, folks. We have time, right? I just have one slide to explain to you, which is this slide here. This is the main slide, causation. That's what they ask you from the passive part, to get in the case study and get the causes, right? But supporting it with some theory then, right? So Heinrich, let's take a look at what he said. Heinrich said, this was back in 1920. A preventable accident is one of five factors in a sequence that results in an injury. The injury is invariably caused by the accident, right? So part of it is the worker fault, I guess. But the accident in turn is always the result of the factor that immediately precedes it, right? I just thought of another one. There's another one called the causation tree. I kind of like that one. Let me show you why. All of them will get the same thing, right? It kind of, the causation tree, we could all relate to this, right? Avocados, right? I mean, this looks like a mango tree. So avocados, I mean, avocado branches are not like that, right? Anyway, so with every tree there, when you look at a tree, you see the leaves, you see the fruits, right? So we say, what kind of tree is that? We say it's an avocado tree, it's a mango tree, right? So that's the same idea then, right? Like what Heinrich and all these people are saying, when you look at what you see is the accident. But when you start to look at the cause now, right? The cause, a tree, is not just a tree on the surface. There are what we call roots then to the tree, right? So what he was saying is that there's more than one factor there, right? Now, Heinrich, as you all remember, you remember what kind of person he was? See if you remember what kind of person he was when I told you about the iceberg theory. What kind of person Heinrich was? Heinrich. Heinrich. What does that name sound like? You all answered that question for me already.
German engineering.
Germany, right? And of course, back then it wasn't as well, Germany isn't as nice as it was now, right? So Heinrich, remember the Germans believed they were a superior race, kind of like somebody in the world right now, and of course with World War I, World War II, Hitler then, right, was strongly influenced by Heinrich. If you look at the picture I have of Heinrich in my first PowerPoint, he has a German symbol. I'm not going to say it on the live, right? So Hitler was actually very much influenced by Heinrich. For good or for worse, history is history, right? I think I always tell all my students that I just reported on the facts, right? So, the funny thing is, I think I told another class that Hitler was not even a German. So he believed that the Germans were a superior race, right? But he wasn't even a German. Anyway, he had mass support though. The people wonder like, how could this happen? Just look at different parts of the world. When you see a leader talking today, the citizens are cheering him on. Now, whether or not they were doing that out of fear or whatever, I mean, he had the German support, right? Anyway, the point is, if you look and see what he did, remember that thing was more of genetics, right? And so Heinrich said, if an accident happened, yes, it was an accident. It could be due to an unsafe action, mechanical, physical hazard. Could be your competence. He was trying to blame it on people then, right? He even said it was due to your genetics. And it was actually, if you track that back, your attitude, behavior could have been tracked back to your ancestry, which was not correct. None of those things are correct, right? But what was correct is that this is the first time somebody made the theory that an accident have more than one cause. Instead of just blaming the worker, there was like a deeper cause analysis then, right? So at the diploma level, at the BSc level, that's a question you get. You get to compare and contrast the Heinrich theory with the amended theory, right? So we realized what was wrong. Psychologists realized that, this man was a kind of crazy man. I mean, no offense there, right? But they decided to fix it then, and that's what these guys did here. Sorry, I tried to change the marker. The marker not changing. So that's why I'm not lining up with what I'm saying now, right? So these guys and them here, Bird and Loftus, they amended the theory, right? So they left in the accident, they left in the loss, they left in unsafe acts and conditions. But the root cause, now if you go back to the root, is not going to go back to genetics or ancestry, it's just going to go back to lack of control by management, right? So in other words, that if Frank fell because he was running, you could say, yes, it's his fault he was running. But if you do a deeper cause analysis, you can say, well, why was he running? And it may be found out that he was put under some work pressures. Well, who put him under the pressure? The manager told him, go and get this done now, right? It could be that he slipped because his PPE, his boots was worn. So he was running, so it's his fault. In a way, it's his fault. But replacing the PPE was the job of the management. So there is equal responsibility then with the causal tree. Look at this then, that yes, it may be, you can actually see the fruit, but then if you dig deeper, you'll get to the root causes and which ends up in this particular model, it ends up being management. This is what they stop at level 3 at. This is where level 3 stops here, right? Without actually calling Bird and Loftus, but I said I'll put it here so you'll see the development of the theory. So if you're okay with that, let me just go forward a bit and I'll come back to the ones that I have to explain to you, which you already kind of know already, because I've printed it here and how it could come for a past paper, right? Or a future paper. Let's just go forward a bit. Now it have other theories. I don't know if you wrote them down, causal tree. It have others, reasons model, Swiss cheese model, but no more at the certificate level. And really, these are not quite mentioned here, but the outcome of them, they are mentioned in terms of the root cause analysis. So I've kind of linked it back to the authors here anyway, right? Multiple causation theory is actually a good theory. If you wonder, well, what's different to that and this? Well, first of all, that's not your question, but I'll tell you, right? What's different with the multiple causation theory and this one? Well, the multiple, does anybody want to guess the multiple causation theory? like this, right? Even this is good, but this is not all good. What if then? What if it was not the manager's fault? What if it was a manufacturing defect? This model doesn't allow for that. In a way, this model is fault finding, like the audit. I wonder if you get that. The only root then they say here is the management. Lack of supervision, lack of control, lack of money. What if it have another root cause? You understand? The burden of us amended theory is just single-minded then. What if it had manufacturing defects? So they had to come up with another theory, the multiple causation theory. What if a cause was the weather? What if it was a natural disaster? Right? Understand that a bit? What if it was a flood? What if it was willful, a willful act of arson or something, right? So there's a multiple causation theory. Anyway, all of them kind of go to find the immediate cause, the root cause, all of them do that, right? And to end this off, person should be assigned. So when you find the causes, person should be assigned corrective actions who are able, responsible, and accountable. Persons assigned corrective action should be given deadline dates. Corrective action should be short and long term. Action plans are a good way of representing who is to do what and by when, right? So the last thing here, when you do interviews for witnesses in an accident investigation, interview as soon as possible. You need to explain the purpose of the interview to the person, which is not to blame them because we just spoke about the causes, right? It could be, an equal distribution of blame then, right? Who, when, where, and what and how type questions should be used. Use open questioning. Interview, don't interrogate, don't ask why type questions. Don't interrupt and put words in the interviewer's mouth. Let the interviewer do all the talking. Establish a rapport with them. Initially, the line manager should interview. Best to carry out the interview at the scene of the accident because it enhances recall. Witnesses can point to things rather than have to think about them and describe them later. Witness information is more accurate at the scene. Concluding the interview, repeat the witness account to the interviewee. It allows the witness to hear his or her account and add any details previously omitted or expand some points in order to make them clearer. When the investigator and the witness are both satisfied that a true account has been given, the interview should be concluded on a positive note. This is best achieved by discussing any ideas a witness might have regarding prevention of a similar occurrence. Right, let's go back to this slide now. So what I was telling you all, right? In an exam question, what they do, they ask you for this, right? So, but I need a little bit more space to write. Let me see if I could fit anything on that slide. Let me see if I could fit. Okay, I have some space, so I'm gonna write it here, right? So what they ask for is the causes, and the causes are broken down into three. So if I tell you this, I tell you in the beginning, we would not have already had need to read anything else. So you have immediate causes. Now, folks, remember this one is very important, and that's why we're writing it. Underlying causes and root causes. So there are three causes, of an accident. You have to be careful when they ask you which is which. So the immediate causes are due to unsafe actions. You can write it out for me. And unsafe conditions. So if they ask you for immediate causes, you have to go through your case study and see what are the unsafe actions. Then I should probably just write it once. I'm going to write it once. So I'll put unsafe, and I'll just put the two things there, right? Unsafe actions and unsafe conditions. Unsafe actions and unsafe conditions. So an unsafe action is like where they say the young forklift truck driver was speeding, or they would say somebody using their cell phone while operating the forklift, or a worker using a fire extinguisher to wake up an employee, right? Unsafe actions, unsafe conditions. Unsafe actions are basically due to you. Unsafe conditions are due to the workplace itself. Unsafe actions are due to you. You get it from the case study, unsafe conditions. When you read the case study, it will say things like there were boxes blocking the exit, the emergency exit, right? Tell me if you understand that. That's the thing people don't understand. And people go and mix them up and then wonder, what happened? Well, you mix it up. I only give you one so far, so I'm gonna give you the rest. Underlying causes. This is a big problem for most students. Underlying causes are due to a lack in a procedure. So if they give you a case study now, you have to go through, they ask you for underlying causes and get the lack in the documents. So when you see they say the worker was speeding, you can say the underlying causes are lacking a speeding policy, right? So this is a lack in procedure or documents. When they say the worker did not, get the JSA, we can see what then that is an underlying cause, right? Underlying causes have to do with a shortcoming in documentation or procedures. You can write the word documentation if you want as well. Don't mix them up. If they ask the underlying causes, you cannot say the worker was speeding the forklift, right? You have to say procedures. The key they were looking there for is procedures. Procedures are documents, right? If you say underlying causes, you cannot say it had oil on the ground. That would be an immediate cause as workplace. But you could have said there was a lack of a proper housekeeping procedure and you'll get it correct. This again, people, is the most important slide. They wanted everybody don't get, right? The explanation now is the one that they don't get. Or they don't remember on the day of the exam to go back and see what it is I said. People mix this up all the time. And the root causes, as you could figure out, is due to management. Okay, you saw that from the models on them, right? So if you ask for root causes, you have to go back and blame the manager. In the case study, see what the manager wasn't doing, right? Lack of resources, poor communication. Let's put in some here so that you'll understand it. You could finish the word for me. Poor communication, focus on production, right? You cannot now go and give an immediate cause. You have to stick to the manager. The focus of it now must be the manager. I see it all the time now. Other guy asked me in one of my diploma classes, he's not being genuine. This is the first thing I'll tell you about it, right? I mean, I know him and the companies know him too. So it's not just me. It is not I'm not telling you something, that's not my judgment. I'm telling you how it is, right? There are some people like that, right? So what I'm telling you is not my opinion, but and so he asked this question. I treat it as a genuine question, but I know him. I know he is, full of hot air, as we would say, right? He asked a question. He passed on stuff. He passed his diploma, right? He have whole batch of certificates there for them, right? He asked how to get 100 in Nibosh. He want to get 100 in Nibosh. I took it as a genuine question. I know he was on follies now, right? But remember, as a class, I answered the class as if it's a true question. I know him. I know he on follies, right? I can't tell you how I know him, but everybody knows him, right? And everybody have the same, impression of him anyway, right? But I told him, I said, here's how. Then you have to make sure you answer the question. Don't just put an answer. A lot of people just hurry to get 10 or 20 or 13 or 15 or 16. But are you really answering the question? Right? There's some people, like when they say root causes, they come back and they say here something about the employee, something about procedures. No, you're mixing it up. And you wonder, well, how did I get or you pass, so we're glad, right? So once you pass NIBOSH, by the way, folks, I should say this. I have learned from when I was in England, when you pass, that deserves commendation because NIBOSH is not easy. It's the number one brand. So once you pass, all respect, all prestige, all graduation honors go to you, right? But to him, to the guy who asked the question, right, in class, I told him, it's not just about putting the 13 answers now, because that's how you get 50 something, right? You got to make sure each answer to is different from the other one. Like if you say production already, you can't come back and say production again. Lots of people do that. Like they say one point and they go back and they put another point on the same thing. Like you say training, right? Like you could have said a lack, could have said like a lack of training in, but then somewhere down the line they say training again. So what they do, they don't give 2 marks of training. But I mean, once you follow my guide, you'll pass, and so much people passing. But if he asks how to get 100, well, then you have to really be precise. Don't repeat yourself. Each answer have to be different from the other one. But he wasn't really interested in that. He was actually interested in something else, right? Which is the type of person he is anyway, right? So here again, root causes could be supervision, lack of supervision. So the point is here, different answers give you different marks. I have a video. I don't know if it's on YouTube. I do look at my own videos, I should tell you, right? To tell her, right? I'm gonna have to go and try to find it for you all if there's anything, right? I have a video on how I analyze how to answer NIBOSH paper, right? It have a few videos like that on YouTube. It have one other guy, I think, doing it. Well, he didn't do it in years. It's the same video he have up to, right? But how they mark now, right? Anyway, folks, the point is that don't crisscross your answers. Stick to this and you should be good enough to go. And that will wrap up this class, right? What I wanted to do, because is it not, it's about half 3, right? What I wanted to do, I want to just run through for you, those who write an exam, either September or October, what would happen from here. So if you want, you could jot it down, right? I'm gonna clean this slide and let you know what would happen from here. Right? I have finished my water. Just let me get some water. Because I've been talking since 8:30, right? Like with you all, I have no break from 1 o'clock. You all came in, a class is going, and when you all finish, another class is gonna come in same time. So let me get a drink of water and I'll come back and I want to show you, I want to kind of give you a guide in terms of the exam day and stuff like that coming up now, right? Just give me, won't take a minute. The water is right on the fridge, the office is small. Everything is right here. Yes, I did say we could have finished the syllabus today, The other lesson 15, which I know you don't have, is actually just 10 slides long, But I wouldn't, right? I'll leave one for next week. I told her that we were gonna make it last for August now. We end up with probably one Saturday, which is the first Saturday in September. I'll still have something with you all, and then the other week is those of us who are doing the September exam, right? So I got the water, right? Okay, so let's take this off. And I'm gonna just anyway for you to come in and let me know now, it'll help me out a bit in terms of my voice too. But this is more or less like an exam guide from here, right? So some of you all, so you can just think September, October, right? So those who have had the sign up for the September exam, so then that's completed, right? So I'm taking it from the sign up process, right? And if you're in October, then you still have to be signed up, right? So from here now, the week before the exam, so if you have a calendar, you can check it, right? The week before the exam, NIBOSH is going to send you a link. Not me, NIBOSH itself. So check your emails. You should get this about the Wednesday before the exam, right? So check a note of that. You're going to get a link from NIBOSH. I think it may come from something called OBE, which is open book exams, right? So you're looking at probably the third, right? The fourth, the fifth for the latest, which is the Friday, right? So they normally give you the link before. So what the link has in it, right? The link has, well, a link, right? It has a link to the exam platform, right? So you could actually click the link. I'm just put this, you could click the link, right? And what it will prompt you to do is put in your student number. You want to take a note? It promises to put in your student number, or your learner number is what it's called, right? The student number, should probably write the word learner, right? Student number, let's put in the number sign, right? And your password. Now, what's the password? The password is something they will give you in that same link. So when they give you the email will consist of a link and it will have a password in it. Now, the password, let me wait for you all to write the password. The password would be like a Google password. It's not really a word, it's like a code. You know, like the capital M underscore T, then capital S, then common O, that kind of thing. So that's your password, right? Now, I would advise you all when you get it, please write these things out to put it in, try to put it in manually. Which nobody does, by the way. I just tell you. Most people just copy it and put it, right? Copy it and paste it. But sometimes when you copy it and paste it, it doesn't work. So then you call me and you tell me, hey, the password not working. And I said, have you put it in manually? And I said, no, oh, we remember you said that. I said, yes, put it in manually, right? So try copying and pasting it, and if it works, great. If not, put it in manually, right? Now, once you put in the password for the first time, it's going to prompt you to change it, or if you want to change it, right? So I have a password from Nebosh for years, though I don't even know what it is. I put in the one they give me, and I just saved that. I don't know what my password is. I have no idea what it is. None. I could go back and find the original email some much decades ago, 15 years ago, but I don't really have a idea what it is, right? So so you could use the same password that they give, just save it, right? Now, if you want to change it, you want to change it to your name, something like that. I guess you could do that. You could save it. But when you save it, make sure you know what you save. Because I realize some people now when they remember, folks, this is before the exam, and this is before the exam, right? When the exam day come now, you forget what they put, right? They forget what they put. But it's supposed to be saved. So, I mean, that's just things that students tell me, or maybe when they click it back and not going or whatever. So there's a reset function if that happens to you. You could reset it on the day of the exam. My advice here is to use what they give you. If you want to change it, change it. And then you see Sunday before the exam, because you're getting this like the Wednesday, right? Try to log in back and see if you could log in. Log in the Monday, see if you could log in. The platform doesn't have anything on it, by the way. When you log in this week before, now you'll see the icon. Those who sign up for exam, right? You'll see the icon, it will mark OBE September. You want to take a note of this? So September OBE, something like that, right? You'd also see the other icon. What is the other icon? The other icon is the template. That's what you're going to type on. That's what you're going to download to type on, right? So you would see them. However, you cannot access them, right? It's an inactive icon till the day of the exam. It's an inactive icon till the day of the exam, till the Wednesday, right?
So one question quickly.
Sure.
I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but I haven't heard it. When is the deadline for this the class assignment again?
We do have some flexibility with that, to be honest. It would be nice if we could get the project by the 27th, which is the Wednesday. No, the 3rd. The 3rd, right? But to be honest, are we being honest here, right? I'm not making up anything, right? As a school, we have some days after your exam to submit the project. Remember, your project has been submitted to me, right? The project is coming to the school. Please pass the word around. I've never told her anything about submitting anything on the project on the platform. So I don't even like saying it, because when you say it, then people misinterpret what you say. I've always said email us the project, right? The project is emailed to the school, but the exam, you all have to submit back your own exam, right? Anyway, folks, I'm gonna try to bring this down to an end, right? So after that, you just wait. You wait for the day of the exam, right? Now, a couple of things here, just to point some things out here, right? You wait until the Wednesday. The exam paper should be available about 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning of the exam. I know those of us who got the confirmation, it's saying 11, but that is 11 UK time. You have to synchronize back to Caribbean time. In other words, on your exam paper is going to be available from 6 a.m. of the Wednesday to about 6 or 7 a.m. the following day. The time zone does change, which is why I put 6 or 7. You could double check it coming closer to September and see what is the difference in the time zone. It's supposed to be 6 a.m. Thursday, right? Not 11. Interviewing a student. And the thing is, I normally send an email to the students confirming everything we say is on an email to the student. A guy told me he started 11:30. I said, why? He said, because the paper was available 7 o'clock. I said, no. He said, yeah, 7 o'clock mark on the form. I said, I know that, but you can't remember tell it to synchronize back to the Caribbean time. And the thing is, I sent an email like the week before. I sent an email, and there's actually a guide documenting this that I sent that to. But like he didn't read it. I said Trinidadians don't like to read at all. All right. Next thing here, I'm gonna close off is that when you finish on the day of the exam, folks, you can download the paper and the template, and you can begin working. You don't have to stay on the platform. The purpose of the platform is just to download the paper and upload the paper. You could download the paper and the template and start working. Please take a note of that. You type in on the template. When you are finished, you have to go back on the link. You're going to click the link again to submit, and there's a submit button there. When you click on that, you agree to their terms and conditions of plagiarism, and it'll give you the option to submit your project. Once you submit on the platform, you'll get a confirmation saying thank you for submitting. And the school here, will be in contact with you to do your closing interview. The closing interview is done a week after the exam. It's not difficult. It's something simple to do. And we do it one-on-one. So I'll call you and schedule a day with you, a day and time to get the closing interviews done, right? Oh, there's one little catch here again. Next week, I want to try to build on this. You see, next week is a short class. I'm going to go through this next week with you all again, right? The submission is only in PDF. If you're trying to submit a Word document, it wouldn't submit. So try to see if you could get a PDF. Well, it's free. Adobe is free. You could just go on Google and put, Adobe Word to PDF, and Adobe converters are free. You have some you have to pay for, but Adobe is free. Right?
But so what was the interview about though? That's all.
Oh, good question. So nothing. There's a simple way to tell it. Okay. So when you submit your paper to NIBOSH, right? It takes a week for them to send me back 3 questions to ask you. But the closing interview is not for marks. That's why I said nothing, because it doesn't affect your mark. However, it is a requirement that you do the interview. We record it and we send it back for them, right? What they're trying to catch is to catch if you had help on doing the paper, right? So do your own work, as you all know, do your own work, and you'll be honest with your answers, right? In other words, Durban, they will ask me, like, to ask you, why did you put that answer? It's not a test. It's just like an explanation, right? Folks, you understand? So you would just say, I put this answer because I felt it was the best one from the case study. Next question. That's how easy it is, right? Next question. They'll say, do you remember writing? And they will send me what it is. And then the question may be, why did you choose that? And you say, why I chose that. Well, why you chose it, right? Understand? I take a record of it, it's recorded. It wouldn't be in one day. We take a couple of days to get it done. You shouldn't worry about it. If you did your own work, you shouldn't worry about it. If you copy, then you should start to worry, because the purpose of it is, if you can't explain why you put the answer, then it is a bit ticklish. I had a student, I'll end with this. I had a student, a safety manager too. Currently, I can't call the company. The man get up from his chair, start to cool sweat. I wonder what is going on, right? I see the man walking by, he banister. I changed my tune and I started telling him, man, I say, hey, X, you okay? It's just an examiner, right? I thought this man was going to jump out the banister, All I feel is a joke. I changed my tune one time. I started talk the man down. I say, X, hey, don't take it on so serious now. It's just an exam. If you fail, you fail. You just do it over, right? Yeah, so, yeah. So do your own exam. Do your own exam. Right? The purpose of it is that it is to prove that you did your own exam. Right? Don't do it. It's too easy. Folks, you know it's too easy, right? Don't do it. It's too easy. The answer's inside there. You would be able to explain yourself. The interview takes about 15 minutes. And again, it's not for marks. It's none to worry about once you have been honest with your own work anyway, right? So that's a wrap there, folks, right? We'll take it up next week now, right? I want to try to log you all off and log in. I actually have an exam started with another class, right? But another subject too. If by any miracle, anybody's interested in the degree, the diploma, we are starting in October. However, I wanted 15 students, right? 1-5, and my list of 17. But I don't know how much of the 17 100% serious. Pretty much sure most of them are, right? If anybody interested, NABOSH diploma in October, right? You let me know, message me, because I really don't have the space, right? I kind of hoping that some in that 17, I could think of one student who may be kind of shaky, right? And if there's 2 or 3 shaky, I would just do a replacement then, right? If anybody wants to study diploma in October. Classes may actually be on a Sunday evening on Zoom. Not this late, right? But it may be on a Sunday evening, right? Again, limited seating available in that. All right. Ambika Bernard. Nope. Devon is here. Cedranessa Ben. Justin Mirage. Yeah. Cedranessa is here. Justin Mirage.
Present.
Okay. Janelle Jack. Ryan Moore. Let me try to stop our share. Guess I'll stop the recording, right?